Now let's look at comparing mobile device hardware to laptops. Essentially, a smartphone is just a cell phone with some added capabilities, such as the ability to get short message or SMS text. So that's your text messaging. If you always wonder what the actual name is, it's an SMS. If you've ever seen the term SMS, now you know that is just for text. And then if you have more than just text, you have voice, photos, video message. That's a multimedia messaging service, or MMS. A smartphone will have web browsing, so you'll have a browser that you can use on your phone, whether it's Chrome or the Safari on an Apple device, whatever the case may be. You have a web browser. You also are going to have email clients, so you can send email, whether it's pop messages or Exchange. So have a variety there. On smartphones, you got a variety of different games that you can play. Smartphones generally have the ability always to take photos and or video, and when you're searching for a new device, that's one of the things you want to look at is the front-facing camera, the rear-facing camera. What are the how many megapixels is each? That is definitely one thing, because people use this feature all the time. I use it myself if I'm troubleshooting a device or I see something that I want to research more. I'll take a picture of it with my phone so that I can do that research later or use that as a reference tool later. And there's just a ton of apps that are available for your smartphones, so that you would not have on just a basic cell phone, which you can still purchase from your mobile service provider. It uses a cellular network and usually has a wireless fidelity and Bluetooth connection. This is great because once you replace a device, you still have these features and can still use this device for like a media player. So once you get a new device and you no longer need the cellular network on that device, it still has Wi-Fi, so you can use it to get on the internet, do your email, whatever. If you want to use it as a Bluetooth connection to, let's say, your sound bar, then you can send your music. Let's say you're using iHeartRadio through Wi-Fi on your smartphone. You can send that via Bluetooth to your Bluetooth speaker so you can hear the music. And you're not worried about using any type of cellular data because it's no longer on the cellular network. Now look at this. The handheld tablet is larger than a smartphone with basically the same features. The biggest difference being that of you're not generally going to make calls with your handheld tablet, though you do have that ability with different apps. Or if your tablet has mobile technology that you're paying for, the data and cellular network on that. Most connect to the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Some have cellular network connectivity, so that's, as I just mentioned before, that is another feature of those tablets. And many tablets can be connected to peripherals such as a keyboard using that Bluetooth technology for a keyboard or mouse, or maybe you're even using the micro USB port for doing that. You can also have a micro HDMI port on a device that you can use to connect to, let's say, a monitor or TV. Now, one of the biggest difference in going from the standard cell phones to mobile phones or tablets is the touch interfaces. And we rely on this touch interface as we don't have those raised buttons for doing all of the work anymore. Touch screens that rely on a two-finger pinch are called multi-touch. This is where you can enlarge and shrink things just with using your fingers to kind of pinch that device. Now with touchscreens, there are two primary technologies. You have capacitive and resistive. And really the difference is just how it works. You can see here that the capacitive touchscreen technology uses electrodes that sense conductive properties of your skin. It has no bearing on the amount of pressure you put on. So because it is using those conductive properties, it is more responsive than the resistive. The resistive technology uses two sheets of glass that your touch is based on the pressure that you're applying to that glass. Now, some phones do use a SIM card, some do not, so it just depends on the device and the carrier. Real key point here is the internal storage used by your Apple iOS or Android to hold apps and data is flash memory. There's no moving parts. So it's, it's just like we've talked about with SSD technology. The big thing here too is that most devices with your Android side often have an external slot for an SD card so that you can expand your storage. And as our phones and smartphones are getting smarter, they're starting to see that more seamlessly. So when you add that SD card, it sees it as part of its own memory rather than an external memory that you've now added. So that's a great feature that there's still, it's not 100% foolproof yet, but we are making advancements in that. Briefly talk about a couple other components here. The gyroscope or accelerometer. This is a great addition to the phones. This allows for motion and position sensing to happen. So like if you've ever played a game on a smartphone and you're using it like a steering wheel, that's because of the accelerometer in there. Another great feature for this, like if you download, let's say, a level app because you want to see if something's level, but you don't want to go out to the garage and get a level to see if the picture on the wall is level or not. You can download an app and it'll give you that true levelness based on the accelerometer. This also is used to help adjust your screen orientation for when you flip your phone one way or another. The GPS. Now, GPS, or the Global Positioning System, was developed way back by the United States Department of Defense. It's a worldwide system of satellites that provide location information for anything with a GPS receiver, such as with your smartphone. Now, any mobile device with a GPS receiver can use the system to identify its location and utilize map programs such as Google Maps and other applications that rely on your position on, in the global positioning system. Not all mobile devices will have GPS receiver. Instead, they will use a cell phone triangulation or location services that uses crowdsourcing of Wi-Fi locations to determine your approximate location using your device. So that's a little bit about GPS and locating services. One thing to know about, in theory, with your mobile devices, that there are no field serviceable parts or field replaceable units, as we've talked about in other lessons. Having said that, as we all know, the screens crack or break on them, and you can order those kits and try to do that yourself, and there's videos out there to help you go through that. But ideally, there are no field replaceable units for mobile devices, and that's why we pay that $7 fee or $10 fee for insurance on our mobile device. So just be careful with that. Are there places out there that can work on some? Sure, but you're taking a risk, obviously, instead of just getting a whole new unit. Prime example of that is with your Apple iOS phones, your iPhones. Generally, when there's an issue with it and they're still under warranty, you take it to an Apple store and they just swap out the whole unit, just because it's more convenient and easier and cheaper to just do that for the cost that it costs them to make those devices. I said we'd talk a little bit about configuring, syncing, and securing the devices. Now, when it comes to your Apple device, most of the settings required to support this are in the Settings app, and that Settings icon I showed you earlier. This is where you can configure a lot of different settings on your phone, such as your network connections, whether you want to turn airplane mode on or off, if you are going to make a cellular data connection, if you just want Wi-Fi connection, if you want to enable or disable your Bluetooth connection, you do all of that here. As you can see here, we went into our settings and we can either turn on or off our Wi-Fi. We just do it there. There's no button on the side of the phone to do that. You go into your settings, you go into Wi-Fi networks, and using the touch screen on it, you slide with touch on the screen whether you want that to be on or off. You can tap on the network and then put in your credentials to be able to join that network. And you can forget networks. All that is done right here. If you want to turn on your cellular information, you can turn it on here or off. So all those are done in settings. Another area you can do there in settings is your email. You can use a browser or you can use an email client. Most of your smartphones are going to have a built-in mail app. To configure mail app on iOS, you're going to need different information. If you're just doing like your Gmail, just having your uh, username and password, and that's going to be a POP protocol, do that. If you're doing an Exchange account, you're going to need an admin password and account. You're going to need to know the name of your mail server that Exchange is located on so they can see the account, authenticate with the account on your network. So it just depends on what type of mail system or email you're wanting to use. Now, and whenever you get a message that gets sent to your email, you're going to get notified on your phone when that comes through. A little word of advice when working with the Apple iOS in an enterprise environment, when you have Exchange being used for your mail system and people have that on their iPad or iPhone, if there is an iOS update waiting, a lot of times their devices will not receive or be able to send email. And you'll have to go in, they bring it to you and say, hey, I'm not getting any email, can you tell me what's going on? That's one of the first things to do is go into the settings and check and see if there is a system update that is rated to occur, and just let them know you're going to have to do that, perform that action, and then return the phone to them once it is all completed and you verify that the messaging is working again for emails.